Welcome back, everybody, to Skyrider Limited. My name is Jesse. I'm standing in a field, different field today, one that I don't usually fly in, but this is where I go when I need to make lines and stuff like that. But I'm standing in a field talking to a camera, so you know that means it is time for another edition of the Kite Bag Tour. A little housekeeping note, a little bit of life note. First of all, I'm sorry I've been away for a while. There were two flying videos recently, but there was a little bit of a break there. So I didn't really post anything about it. But I just decided that it was time to be done with prescription glasses. So the last month I've been getting back to normal from having laser eye surgery, which is awesome. Highly encourage you, anybody who's thinking about it, to check it out. No more prescription glasses for me, just cheap sunglasses, and life is good. So we're getting back into the swing of flying and making videos for you all. And today I thought I would share some older and rare kites and some new stuff too. That comes out of my collection of indoor kites. So I think we'll dive right into that. So hang tight, I'm going to grab kite number one and we'll dive right in. So starting with the oldest kite I have with me today, this is a Buena Vista XTC XXL indoor. I imagine these are pretty rare. I know I've only ever seen the one. This was my first indoor dueling kite. Now, interestingly, it's actually been framed as an outdoor ultralight at this point. We reframed it when we were flying for Buena Vista to make it a little more resilient for outdoor. So it travels in my indoor bag, but it doesn't really see much action anymore. But this is kind of where it started. You know, the indoor kites back then were not really specially developed the way they are or have become. They were just really light versions of an outdoor kite, so it was made with a lighter Icarus and had a lighter frame. Some interesting stuff on this kite and the Buena Vistas in general that I've shown you in the past is that extra bridle leg to support the frame. It's a fun little kite, and you know it's really flat, so it does cool rotationally things that you wouldn't expect an older kite to do. And once in a while it comes out. For a while it was my light kite for night flies, and I had some LEDs on it. But I wanted to share this one with you because this is sort of an indoor kite origin story, if you will. So there's that guy, and with that we're going to move sort of down the line of Buena Vista kites over to this kite's slightly younger baby brother. So the next kite, also Buena Vista, is called an X4i. This was the X4 indoor. There was also an X4W, which was framed a little beefier and was sort of his answer to like a Prism Micron. But this one was framed all in little microcarbon, 1.5 and 2 mil. And was a lot of fun indoors. Very, very light, very floaty. They're still around. They were made in a decent quantity. The kite would be succeeded by another slightly larger mini indoor called the PI, which got produced in really good quantity during the HQ days. I've actually seen some folks fly these recently, and was very impressed to learn that you could comet one of these indoors if you are brave enough and fit enough, I think is probably the right way to say that. But yeah, these were cool. At one point, I flew two of these at once indoors, one on each hand on a tiller bar, with tails made from space blankets. So that was one of my indoor gimmicks at one point. A cool kite, two panels, very light, all Icarus. I keep 3 of these in my bag with me because they're just fun, and they're also good for teaching someone indoors because they're pretty easy to fly, both from their size and from their weight. So from this, we're going to jump back into larger Buena Vista indoor kites. So hang tight, and I'm going to grab another kite. So next up, we have the last of the Buena Vistas that I'm going to bring out. This is a Peter Warba made, as opposed to an HQ made, feather. So this is a fairly early Icarus one. This was the large indoor kite that came out around the same time as the Sonic, which I think I've shown you before, but if not, we'll definitely bring one of those out later. This was sort of our mainstay indoor kite for a long time. It's a protruded spine and leading edge, top spreader, a via skinny Avia skinny lower spreaders. Very light, glides super well. I've flown this one as a little bit of an urban kite too. It's a little big for that, but it gets the job done and can be a lot of fun in interesting spaces. First kite I ever did a fade with. Rotationally really good and just really well balanced. Such a joy to fly indoors. Pretty effortless. But we'll get the last two I have for today. Supplanted this as it's the favorite in my heart for sure, and we'll get to those shortly. Those kites make effortless look easy. So hang tight, we're going to grab another one. So sticking with the American-born indoor kite theme that we started with, what I have here is a Kaiju by Kite Forge. John Baresi and Brett Marshall. This is, so when I started flying again during COVID, I decided, what the hell, new indoor kite could be fun, before really thinking about that I didn't really have a place to fly indoors because it was COVID. I have since gotten to fly it indoors, and it is quite a lot of fun. It is also billed as, and is an excellent urban kite, so on 7 to 10 foot lines. I've literally taken this kite into downtown Boston and played around, hoping to do some of that on film very soon to share with all of you. So this one is designed by John and Brett, made in their factory over in Taiwan, and again, small protruded and microcarbon frame. Some really novel stuff. This down bar in the tunnel that helps the kite sort of keep a more rigid shape, really helps it float and glide. Cool little kite, a lightweight aluminum ferrules, these really cool mini fittings on it. A lot of fun to fly, slides really well. If you get a little wind behind it so that you're not indooring, but indoor too, but like 3 miles an hour, this thing will just edge to edge slides, which is super fun. As with a lot of like very small protruded and microcarbon kites, very bouncy, which can be an advantage. You just have to remember what you have on the end of the lines for sure. So that sort of wraps it up for the little guys. It's time to get into the big stuff, and we're going to jump across the pond for a few. So hang tight. I'm going to go get you the rarest kite in this collection. Probably the rarest kite in this whole collection. This kite here is a prototype for a Cavalier du Ciel indoor kite, sent to my dad and I in about 2001. This is called a Ventian. As far as I know, there's only 2 of them in the world. So all Avia Sport skinny, leading edge, spine, lower spreaders, protruded upper spreader. This was a good little indoor kite. It's a shame it never kind of came to market proper. In particular, though, Mona always picks such cool colors, and this one is beautiful. And the sewing is very cool. So, mix of stitching, sort of your standard zigzag here, but this is a double row straight stitch up this panel here and through the middle panels. I think she was definitely sort of looking at ways to help the sail stretch and the direction and grain of the fabric, and how it would behave in the wind. This kite actually, so like I said, we got it around 2001. This kite actually came with us, so about 2 weeks after September 11th, I'll drop a picture in here. About 2 weeks after September 11th, my dad and I got an airplane and went to Taiwan. And we were guests of the Taiwanese government for the Taipei County International Kite Festival. And we did some school visits the day before the festival proper. And this was the kite my dad flew indoors when we went to visit Shimon Junior High School in Taipei. So this kite is very well world-traveled, 3 continents in fact, and was a good little flyer, and I've kept it in my bag since he stopped flying, and even flew it as part of a demo last year in LBI. So we'll stick with the theme of European indoor kites, and we'll grab another one that I got very recently as part of a collection I found on eBay. As you can probably guess by the big B on the middle of this kite, this is a Benson. Specifically, this is the Benson Airspace. So I read an interesting story about this kite, that somebody came over to the U.S., came to Wildwood and borrowed a Synchro, which is a kite we're going to talk about very shortly. So foreshadowing, and went back and went to Tim and said, we need to build our own answer to that, and this is the kite that ensued. It was definitely a jump forward when it came out in indoor kites. It wasn't just a simple bridle. The scrim mylar in the middle gave it a really positive center of pressure. That's quite a lot of fun. I haven't flown it a ton. I've only had it a little over a year. And unfortunately, my opportunities to fly indoors are not as frequent as they used to be. But it's really pretty in the neon orange and blue. It was definitely used. This trick line really does need to be replaced. You can see where it got worn, and somebody just tied it back together, and I actually suspect it's a little over tight and pulling the wings down a little bit. But in general, another really nice, light, glidey kite that's a lot of fun to fly. And like I said, I did get it used, and the more I'm looking at it right now and spotting things I need to fix. The leading edge tension, I think, is a little under at the moment. You can see it sort of has a little bit to give there. But, you know, one of the nice things with Benson, too, is Tim is still building and is pretty responsive. So if I need to, I can always reach out to him for some details, and he'll definitely be able to help me sort this guy back out to its former glory. So, Benson Interspace. Fun kite. So moving from France to England as we did, we're now going to move back across into Germany. And this kite is a level 1 amazing. So this kite specifically has a great story, for me at least. So this is actually my second amazing, and the other one is over in my bag as well. I also have one that's the full fabric first generation. So that kite was given to my dad and I when we first started flying for level 1 in the late 90s. I loved that kite. It was absolutely my favorite indoor kite for a long while, and Jens and Olaf at level 1 found out that I loved it through my dad and through our other sponsor who was part of that deal at Avia Sport, Kurt Degner. And so they sent me this one with this wonderful message thanking me for my good flying. And it's dated September of 1999, right down there. This kite's also really cool because its designer is once again involved with level 1. So when I first met him, he had moved from level 1 to being with Avia and with Cavalier. That's Paul DeBacher. Paul is now back with level 1, and if you go look at the Kite Maker Corner videos, you can see an interview with him. But this was one of Paul's early designs, and yeah, I absolutely love it. And I have a couple of times contemplated getting the current generation version, because the kite is still in production, but it's been updated a few times, just to sort of round out the collection of amazings, and also to protect this one because, you know, they're not going to make these again. This Mylar is out of production. Actually, everything on this kite is out of production. It's all of your frame. It is all the super light, very, very small grid scrim mylar, and then you have wine and slate Icarus. So this is all the extinct things, and I just love the kite so much. So from here we're going to go to my absolute favorite indoor dueling kite of all time, and the most effortless kite there is to fly indoors for me, the Synchro. So, I've mentioned it a couple of times leading up, and here it is. This is my Wheldon Aerolabs Synchro. So this is my indoor Synchro. My dad and I each have an indoor. His is the dark blue with silver and red. Mine is red, silver, and black here. We also had an outdoor set that were done with a fully appliqued Avia Sport logo on them, and then there is actually a fifth one in the house that was called the Concept Eagle, and it is made entirely out of Orcon film, and it was so light that the logos were hand-drawn in Sharpie. The Synchro is an interesting kite development story. those of you who are watching this going, that looks like a Jordan Millennium, you're not wrong. Dean had developed the Millennium. Herb became interested in it, and while Dean was interested in continuing to develop sail shapes, Wheldon was interested in developing bridles. And so if you look at this kite, it has a very interesting bridle. It has what's called a crosshack bridle. So you can see there are 4 legs here. You have a traditional out haul and up haul. You have a traditional in haul that goes to the T, which is one of the adjustment points on the kite. There's also an adjustment at the up haul. And then you have a cross haul, which actually goes to the middle of the lower spreader. And depending on the generation of Synchro, you may have 2, 3, or 4 adjustment points on that lower spreader. The Concept Eagle actually also had adjustable points on the standoffs, where you could move the standoffs across the sail for different configurations and different performance behaviors. This kite is crazy, crazy light. For being full size, it is so effortless to fly indoors. Herb's stitching is so immaculate and so precise, and he used just about every setting on his sewing machine. His applique work is always beautiful, always back cut, really beautifully done. The seams are always done with matching stitch. He weighed the tubes. Every tube in the kite is weighed and the weight ridden down out to the 100th of a gram to get the balance of the kites just so. They are a joy to fly indoors and outdoors in really low wind. The only SUL I've ever seen that really comes close to matching, or let's be honest, to matching the performance, is a Pro Dancer. Pro Dancer SUL is the only other ultralight that gets this light. It's really an incredible kite. It's very special to me. Herb's no longer with us, I believe. I haven't seen anything that would indicate to me otherwise, at least. But I had lost touch with him years ago through my dad and I had lost touch with him years ago. But they were rare to begin with. So, definitely a kite that comes out on special occasions, indoor performances and stuff, and I definitely love and sort of treat with care. So, we end on one of my favorite kites that I've ever owned, and I think that's a good place to stop. That was a lot of indoor kites for sure. So, we'll see you next time. We'll see you out there, Skyrider.